What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Gamer Credits. This is going to be level 8. Let's introduce the players. We got player 1, Star Child.
What's going on, everybody?
Hey, sounding good. Then we got player 2, BP.
Kid, what's going on, man? Good evening to you.
Hey, and then we got player 3. It's your boy, Kid Dream. So, before we jump into the wonderful topic we have today, we're going to start with the gaming moments of the week. Does anybody have a gaming moment?
Not this week.
Oh man, I was hoping for that streak, man.
I know.
That's cool. I mean, I got one. It's kind of an embarrassing one though, but I
Uh-oh.
figure I share it. Yeah. my son finally got me to play Mad Max. That's been out for like probably eons now. And started the game off. It looked pretty cool. Just getting into those cinematic. The game starts, and I'm so used to games. You know how you play a lot of the games now, platformers per se, where you can jump on, like beams and tight ropes or whatever, and do all these, just crazy walks on them.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking the first part, there's like I think a boat or something that like branches off to a cliff, another cliff, and I was thinking, oh, I can jump on the chain and just walk over the cliff onto the other side, and
Yeah.
yeah, like as I went to jump and asked my son if I can do that, he was like, no, my character just fell to his death, and that all happened within the first 5 seconds of the start of the game. So yeah, yeah. It was it was pretty embarrassing, and he laughed pretty hard, as you imagine. But
It's a great way to start a new game.
yeah, tell me about it. That was the first for me. I mean, I never died in the first 5 seconds, so it was an experience.
That was such a fake laugh.
Like that was like that laugh said. That was like
Say more
idiot.
because
That's what that laugh was.
if anyone who knows BP knows that BP wants perfection. So I'm laughing because I know how that hurt his soul to have died in the
True.
first 5 seconds.
Hey
So yeah,
man, don't
I'm laughing because I understand how that may have impacted him emotionally.
hey man, don't expose me, man. All right, they can't
You
know
know,
this about me.
I have I always have like an internal thing with myself. Every time I start a new game, I always
Mhm.
like to see how far I can go without dying the first time. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah, I know
It's
exactly what
like
that feels.
hey, how far can I get before I die? Sometimes
Yeah.
I can kind of get far. Other times it's like, oh, that was like 5 minutes in.
Yeah, man, I do that too. Like I'll be thinking in my head, and it's crazy because I'll be like, yeah, you know what? The whole rest of the game, I'm not gonna die. That's it. No, I'm gonna do is be extra careful. I'm just not nothing's gonna happen. And yeah, you can imagine how that goes.
I also do that every time I play a new Call of Duty for the first time. Um, the new Call of Duty, I'll hop in multiplayer. I always try to make my very first game. I
Hmm.
like to start my Call of Duty career with a kill before I die. I
Hmm.
try. So my very first time I play any new Call of Duty, I'm like extra careful my first life because I'm like I gotta get a kill before I die. And most times
Yeah,
I get it actually. I don't know where it came from, but it's just like in my head. Like I can't not try.
that's crazy. Do you go to extreme measures to make sure that happens? Like camping, for example.
Yeah, I usually play a little slow. I mean, it also doesn't help that, again, it's my first time playing, so I don't know the map all that well. But yeah,
Sure.
I'll watch that mini map. I'll go slow. I'll wait for the opportunity
Yeah.
to try to make it happen. And usually I can kind of get a kill before I die. Usually.
Got you. Yeah. Well, I
Um,
know it is.
and I guess my gaming moment, it just brought me back to a memory I had, and I guess I can use that for the gaming moment.
Hmm.
Back when I was a kid, this was like years and years ago. We were playing. My cousin and I were playing the PlayStation 1. And I
Ooh.
was a kid during that time. Well, I was young,
Yeah, that's taking
and
it back though.
I know. And there was a Star Wars game. I don't remember what it was, but I think we were like Jedi's or something. I don't remember what game it was, but
Hmm.
we were playing a level. But we got to a point where it was like a boss fight, and you couldn't. You had to defeat an enemy. It was like a ship or something.
Hmm.
But see, the ship was like on a it was like floating above you, away from you, so you couldn't like walk up to it and hit it like normal enemies like you could before. So we
Mhm.
tried a couple times, and I think that this was the type of game that when you lost all your lives, you had to restart the level. You know, the old school games.
Yeah.
And so but we couldn't pass that boss. Like we didn't know like how to defeat it. So we we were doing it one time, and I think because it was me and my cousin, because it was 2 players.
Mhm.
He we got to it, and the ship killed him, and it was up to me, and I was up to my last life. Didn't know what to do, and so my cousin had the bright idea. He was like, "Oh, you probably have to jump and hit it." But in my head, I was like, "That don't sound right, because I'm gonna die. I'm gonna fall."
All right.
But I was like, "All right, I believe you. You're the big cousin. You're older. You know things. You're better at things than me." So as I jump off the platform to attack the ship, my cousin goes, "Believe in the Jedi!" As I fall to my death and we lose the mission.
Wow.
Crazy.
It was it was iconic, and we kept making that reference, "Believe in the Jedi!" And it didn't work because I ended up dying.
That's
Well, I
so
But
know that
funny.
if you ever have to do one of those trust exercises with your cousin, don't fall back.
especially if he says believe in the Jedi, definitely not.
Gosh, now you
the
bringing back memories I'm thinking about now.
the the solution I think was you had to deflect, because you had lightsabers, so I think you were supposed to
Mhm.
deflect the blast back to it. But we were kids, so we didn't know that.
Gotcha. I think I know that game you're talking about too. That was a really fun game.
Yeah, I remember it being a lot of fun. I can't
Yeah.
remember what the heck it was called or any.
I
I just
know.
remember that one part, man. It's stuck in my head now.
Gosh, yeah, I'm about to go
Uh,
back and find that.
but speaking of the past, we're not trying to talk about that. We're trying to talk about the new, and I guess now we can finally call it current gen systems, the Xbox Series X slash
Indeed,
S and the PlayStation 5.
indeed,
It's not
indeed.
it's not current until at least 40% of players have their hands on the
I like that.
console.
And basically that's what we're going to talk about today. And Star Child made a great point as to the first thing we're going to speak about, and that is the launch, or more disastrous launch, that we had for the Xbox, and kind of really the PlayStation 5, especially with Walmart.
Yeah, that was. Oof.
So I guess before we get into that, does anybody here have any next gen system or current gen system, whatever you want to call it now?
Nope.
Mm-mm. Unfortunately, no, my good sir.
Yeah, same here for me too. So Xbox and went live with their systems on last Tuesday, the 10th. Um, and I remember I checked, and they were sold out immediately.
Oh yeah, that was quick.
Yeah, they wasted no time with that. And so, however, BP and I were both excited because Walmart announced that they were doing a tiered release schedule for the PlayStation 5s. So they did
hmm
one at 12, 3, 6, and 9. So every 3
hmm
hours. And did not was not a very successful campaign on their part. What do you think, BP?
Yeah, yeah, not at all, not at all. It definitely really had its issues, especially just the fact that it just was teasing us so much, right? Because we would get the item in the cart
Yep.
thinking, "Oh, we're good to go." I think
Yep.
I think even you more than me, because you would even get to a point where you were entering your information, to purchase it,
Yep, I
and
was getting
then
ready to review the order.
yeah, and then just like that, some weird thing pops up where it had that weird like what oh dear or something like that
Yeah,
message pop up.
yeah, I kept getting error messages.
Yeah, pretty much. It was different. Matter of fact, it was different ones too, different error messages popping it up. So it
Yep.
was a mess.
And like you said, what was so irritating was people added it to their cart. It was in their cart,
hmm
but because their system was so slow, and maybe because so many people added it to the cart, by the time you actually got to check out, which took some time because again the
hmm
system was really bogged down,
Yeah,
that item, it was already sold out within minutes.
yeah,
Because BP and I, we tried every single time, and every single time we were unsuccessful.
right. And multiple avenues too. Like this is talk. We're talking about desktop and mobile.
Yeah.
Simultaneously, whatever we could do. And yeah, just wasn't happening. And it just it didn't, it was nothing like getting it and thinking, you got to that point where you're, it's in your cart, so you're thinking it's safe. You're already in the
Yeah.
payment screen, and again, you're thinking it's safe, and then all of a sudden you get that message, oh, out of stock. We're gonna remove this from your cart. It's
I
just
know,
kinda,
yeah. It's like, come on, man. Like,
yeah, it's like feel like they physically went into your cart in store
took
and just took it out and said, nope, not for you. It's like, oh, okay.
it. And it's just, Star is funny because it's like they had. I mean, they knew the demand for these systems would be high, and it's just. I really want to know the numbers that they had they were working with, because I mean both systems they were sold out immediately.
Hmm.
Yeah, a little
You
bit
know?
too fast to feel like they had that many consoles available.
Yeah.
Like, I would love to know the actual numbers. I don't know why we don't know the numbers yet. You think they'd be bragging right now to say, "Hey, we sold more than Xbox," but I haven't heard no
Yeah.
one releasing any numbers, which has
Hmm.
me a little suspicious.
And you, as
Now,
well, you should be, but no,
oh
I'm not going to
yeah.
fall in that. I'm not going to fall into that rabbit hole. But yeah, you should be. I feel that way too.
Now I do know Xbox did come out and state that this was their most successful launch lineup.
Hmm.
What
But
does that
again,
actually mean?
yeah, that's what I was about to say. What does that mean? So I guess if we were more prepared, we could look at the previous systems to see what they did at launch. But I guess I just
Mhm.
thought about that.
Yeah, no, I mean,
But
I took it as him just saying that this particular generation of system, uh, did basically outperform the other ones as far as like selling, like I guess the initial sales. That's what
well,
I
I was
took
just
it as.
saying.
But
But
yeah,
selling fast versus selling a certain amount, like they can say
right,
they sold out fast, but they only had 1,000 available.
right.
That's not the same as I
That's a
need to
very
know.
good
I
point.
need to know numbers. I mean, I just know these blanket statements from these companies, man. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's
Yeah,
a good point.
it'll be interesting when they release the actual figures of both, because I'm really curious to see, how the start of this generation is, because honestly, when you look at what we're gonna talk about later on, but when you look at the launch lineup and just the strategy that both companies are taking, they're really taking two separate approaches, and I'm really curious to see how gamers and how people respond, and how what they gravitate towards the most. Microsoft's approach where just come on our system and we have so many ways you can play with with Game Pass or PC or whatever, whereas with
Hmm.
Sony you got that strong first party lineup where you can't get on any other platform besides the few that they decide to graciously put on PC.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So
So,
numbers, can't wait.
do you think?
um
I mean, when do you think? Do you have an idea that y'all think they would do that? Release numbers
Probably
if they would
after.
ever do it?
Yeah, they'll definitely do it.
they would have
Hmm.
Probably
to.
after.
Right?
Yeah. Probably after Christmas and the holidays and everything like that. Once, they can really start saying, "Oh, for Christmas we sold, X amount of systems and stuff like that."
Oh, I got you. Okay.
What y'all think?
Ooh, I don't even know if I trust them to really do it, or unless if they do, it'd be like just you know on some obscure time.
Yeah, Star.
So
Oh, you finish.
I'm good.
Oh.
Star. My bad. I thought I was. I thought you said star, so I was waiting on him to talk, but I didn't realize. I thought I was still talking. My bad.
Now, I
Well,
was. Oh, you were saying something?
no, I'll let you finish. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say it will be sneaky, and what they might do, probably both companies, is instead of saying, "Hey, day one or week one, we sold X amount of systems," they might say, wait till they have some more to put out there and say, "Hey, for the first month or 3 months or something, or first quarter, we sold
Hmm.
this many." So it kind of doesn't make them look as bad, because if they put out numbers saying, "Yeah, well, we sold 500,000 systems day one," people are gonna be like, "Wait, you only had 500,000? Like, what is wrong with y'all? Like, what?"
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. I just, I'm trying not to fall into my conspiracy mode, but I'm honestly, we've talked about this, uh, off episode or whatnot, but just the fact that I just really feel like this whole thing that they got going on, where they're building that demand up, just kind of,
Yeah.
it's just a way of guaranteeing the sales of the consoles versus just putting a whole lot of them out there and people being able to see that and saying, "Oh, I can wait," because there's just things are so tough right now for me, and or so uncertain as far as the economy and having money and a job, for example, and
Yeah.
family to take care of. So that's why I just had that sinking feeling that that's what's going on. But again, conspiracy theory on my part. I know that's Star Child's main domain, but I've I've been feeling that way for a while. So whenever I hear them talking about this shortage stuff, I'm just like, huh, yeah,
Yeah.
I wonder.
Really interesting that you bring up times are tough right now because they definitely are. And so
Hmm.
that kind of leads me into the next thing where the system sold out immediately, but they didn't really sell to, people like you and me. They
Hmm.
were bought by bots
Oh
to
yeah.
be, by scalpers
Hmm.
to be sold on third party websites like eBay for 2, 3 times, the price. The average, was like anywhere from like $800 to like
Hmm.
$1,500.
Yeah.
And
I've
of
been
Hmm.
course
seeing
they
the average at 800. I haven't seen the 1,500 yet. I know it's out
Hmm.
there, but
Oh
I've
yeah.
seen the 800 price range.
Yeah, they seriously have something that's gone like just sky high, as far as
yeah.
price, and yeah, so that's definitely, uh, man. And I mean, is that even though we've kind of experienced that before in the past, but yeah, I don't know, like,
It's gotten worse because,
yeah, that's what I feel like. Yes.
yeah, the bots is basically the worst creation right now on the internet, and I know they have methods of blocking these things, but I think
Mhm.
we may have discussed this in the past that these companies don't care if it's a human being or a bot. They just want the
Not at
money.
all.
Oh yeah, no,
Not at
no,
all.
mm-mm. As long as the profits come in, whoever's buying it don't even matter.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and like you said, Star Child, yeah, there is things they could do, but they aren't. And like I was talking with BP when we were trying to buy it from Walmart.
Mhm.
All they had to do was throw in a captcha or two. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like they could have thrown in some kind of, are you a robot? Click here. Are you a human? Click here or something. They could have thrown in some kind of defense system
Mhm.
so these bots at least would have a more difficult time to give regular people a chance to get it. But like
Mhm.
Walmart did nothing because,
Nope.
like you
Nothing
said,
at all.
they don't care
Mm-mm.
as long as somebody bought it, they're happy.
Mhm. And I'm guaranteeing they'll probably do it again when, because what's the next time, Black
Uh,
Friday
yeah,
that
like
they
the
were supposed to
day
do it?
before, like the 25th or
Yeah.
something like that.
Something, yeah, I believe so. So I'm guaranteeing it's probably gonna be the same thing. I mean, if they prove me
Absolutely.
wrong, great, but mm.
They're not
So
gonna prove you wrong.
Yeah, that's what
that's that attitude. I love it.
I'm afraid of.
So uh we'll see. We'll keep everybody updated. I know BP and I are trying to get our hands on the PlayStation 5, and of course, I'm an Xbox guy, so I am also trying to get my hands on an Xbox Series X. We'll keep you guys updated if we can manage to get one anytime soon, and that way
Mhm.
we can give ourselves more of a first impressions, hands-on review, whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
But until then, we can talk about the reviews that did come out and kind of give our feedback on that. And one of
Yeah,
you
so
guys
we
want to
can
start?
we can hear from all the pawns, the ones that
Ah,
were the ones that we sent out there first to go ahead and sacrifice their money and tell us how their, experience has been. But here's my only real complaint.
Mhm.
And I think we were gonna hold off on this until maybe the end of the show, but this was not the year for new consoles.
Yep.
2020 has been all about the pandemic and all about social distancing and all about trying to stay safe.
Mhm.
So,
yeah.
these companies were looking at the dollar signs, like everybody's at the house, they gonna
Mhm.
want something to play, and so they use that as their method of pushing this artificial need for new consoles. They
Mhm.
didn't have to do this yet because most all the games that they are releasing on these new consoles are still able to be played on the current or the old consoles. So it
Mhm.
wasn't about driving software. They basically wanted to just exploit this current situation with everybody being at the house or being unable to travel. So that's a horrible reason for them to have done what they've done because again, even though people are stuck in their homes, they also may not have jobs. They also may be depending on a budget to be able to make the ends meet. the idea that they exploited this situation so they can push these consoles makes me
Mhm.
not even want to rush out to even get a console right now because who knows what 2021 may bring? Because I'm need my money.
Don't say that, man. Come on.
Yeah,
Don't say that, man.
yeah, we need
God
hope, man.
dang.
We definitely
We
need
need hope.
hope. I'm not gonna make this a political statement at all. I'm just gonna leave the whole that out of it. But I
Mhm.
just felt like these companies understood the global impact that this pandemic was having.
Right.
They should have used better judgment before pushing these consoles out.
Yeah, but unfortunately, man, dollar signs over better judgment, you know?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't think they're gonna sell. I don't think they're gonna sell as much as they could have done if the economy was stronger.
Well, but that's why I feel like with that whole demand thing I talk about a lot, that you already created this whole thing where you got people that at the edge of their seats are just eager, so eager to buy these systems and are so bummed out that they didn't get it that they're still feeling that strongly about wanting to get a system, so they're gonna fly and get it whenever it's available. So that's why I just kind of feel like they honestly, in my opinion, I feel like they manipulated that whole thing. But again, I try not to get too deep in that rabbit hole, but I just feel like that just makes all the sense in the world because otherwise, if they would have came out flat with the majority of the consoles they did, and put it out in abundance, then people would have really thought twice about really rushing to do it, especially during this Dan era.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
that's why I feel like that's why they're just like, oh, well, to put out some now and get a feel of people talking about how it's really good and all that stuff, and just draw up that whole demand and carry it on to the next year. Because I think some people are even talking about after the holidays, what some won't be available maybe until like later in the spring.
Possibly, yeah.
So
Even though you can still get one, you're just gonna have to pay triple the price for some of them. Is you can still get them out
Premium.
there.
yeah, geez, if you're that desperate, I mean, I advise not to, but there's probably gonna be a few that will be desperate
Yeah.
enough.
The ones
Yeah.
who are impatient and have that disposable income, they will definitely.
Oh yeah, especially yeah, because I mean, what's that to you if you got like a bunch of money just around? So yeah, that's definitely true.
So,
Yeah.
so what y'all think about the reviews though for both systems?
I mean, I'm
Like
Uh,
it,
hearing great
hate it?
things. I'm hearing great things about
mhm,
the what people's first, impressions were. I mean, the systems are faster, they are more powerful, and the graphics look amazing.
mhm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's to be expected. So I'm not too surprised with that. But there's been some other issues. But I'll hold off on that till I get everyone else's perspective on it.
Yeah, we'll get
Yeah.
to that.
So, yeah, I mean, it's basically what, Star was saying. I was seeing with some of the reviews, like with the PlayStation 5, for example, how it kind of comes off to me that there were just still a lot of things that were missing. I mean, there's still cool features in it. Don't get me wrong. The UI is much faster. Um, or I guess they call it UX. I'm not sure. I can't remember what they call it now, but it's much cleaner, faster, and looks good. But I noticed that some of the reviews they were saying, like, I think something like how Xbox has a quick resume for the Series X.
Yeah.
I believe that PS5 doesn't have that, for example. Which I think that kind of caught some of them off surprise. Caught some of them by surprise, where they, it was like, wait, you would think that you would have that, but
Yeah.
and I think they even mentioned that it would probably come later in the update, which I'm pretty sure it would. But just for it not
Interesting.
to have to be there at launch, that was kind of an interesting thing.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, overall, I mean, I'm hearing pretty decent things for the most part. A lot of good reviews for really both consoles. I've never heard anything bad for both consoles, other than what Star Child alluded to just now that we're probably going to cover. But yeah. What about you, kid? What do how do you feel on the reviews?
Yeah, pretty much the same. It's kind of what I figured what would happen. Both consoles review pretty well. Like Star Child just mentioned earlier, they're
Hmm.
both powerful. Graphics are amazing. SSDs is what I'm hearing is one of the biggest upgrades the systems have had
Hmm.
to help with that load time. And to go along with that is that quick resume that Xbox has. I've been hearing a lot of positive things about that, and I'm really myself excited to try it and see
Hmm.
kind of how it plays out. But as a whole, I'm hearing pretty good things. I'm glad to see that both consoles are quiet.
Yes.
And
Well,
are not.
not too quiet because some of those PlayStation 5s are making a weird hissing sound.
Oh man.
Well,
I'm
and what's funny because before you even get to that, I do remember some talking about the drive, the disk drive. You know, like the um, what was it? The Blu-ray, not the Blu-ray. What is it?
It's part of the UHD drive
Y-
now.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like and I was hearing that was like when that gets going, that makes some noise. You know, like a
man.
yeah. I mean, I think it's still not as bad as the ones now, like the PS4, obviously, but yeah,
Mhm.
it can get loud
Well,
with that disc.
quieter.
Yeah.
And,
Oh yeah.
I'm hearing also that they're cooler, which is good, you definitely don't want your system to overheat, so
Oh no. I would
but,
really hope they learn from the past, but yeah, you're right.
all in all, good things, I'm hearing, some interesting things about the PlayStation 5, was it the DualSense 5 controller, the new controller they came out with?
Yes,
So,
yes.
I'm curious to kinda see how it how comfortable it is to have in your own hands, because that's really subjective, and everybody's hand is different, so I
Sure,
wanna get it in my hands and see how I like it,
sure.
and, Xbox had to copy Sony a little bit with their new controller, quote, unquote, "new controller" with the, share button that they added. Had to copy
Yeah,
it, but it's fine.
yeah.
But all in all, for the most part, I'm hearing pretty good things about the system. And I
Mhm.
say for the most part because, like Star alluded to, there's some issues. And you want to start taking it away?
Oh, I just said the one that I know of. I mean, that's just I mean, I know of others, but that's the main one that the PlayStation 5 has that coil line issue where basically it's like no matter what you do, you're gonna hear that weird sound just have like this humming in the background like white noise.
Mhm.
It's like
Gotcha.
for what they were trying to push where, the hard drive or the fans will no longer be making that loud noise that these consoles, I guess called current now,
Mhm.
consoles supposed to be so quiet. A lot of people were not expecting to hear that sound, and a lot of people are reporting that issue. I don't think PlayStation has yet made a official statement on it,
Mhm.
but there's some YouTube recordings. People have put their phones up to their PlayStation 5s, and yeah, you hear this sound, and it's like
Mhm.
that's not cool. You don't want to hear that sound.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was interested because because on one hand, I have heard many reports on it, and then on the other hand, I've heard how people kinda come forward and say, "Well, yeah, the coil wine thing is kind of a thing that happens with tech, with some parts of tech." So I guess the issue is it gonna be something that leads to a bigger problem? Like maybe it gets louder or maybe there's a defect or, is it just
I
common with
think
that
that's a
kinda tech?
defect because
You
it's
think it's a
not
defect?
supposed to make that sound. I mean,
Okay.
I know of some PCs, when that sound is heard, you think that there's a electrical issue at that point. You think to
Mhm.
start looking at what's causing that sound because that's
Right.
not supposed to be a normal sound to hear.
Interesting. Okay. Gotcha.
And kind of what we're talking about here is there's been a lot of different reports from several different people about defects for both systems. Unfortunately, though, we have been seeing a lot more come out from the PlayStation 5.
Mhm.
But yeah, there's definitely been some defects, and so it's an interesting thing because before we started, Star Child brought up a good point about when the Nintendo Switch launched and how that had the Joy-Con drift defect with some of its units, and so it's just interesting to see these companies continuously launch these new systems with these defects. But unfortunately, as I was kind of telling them earlier, that's just one of the prices we pay to be early adopters for new tech. It
Yeah,
sucks, but
Mhm.
yeah.
it's just
I
Yeah.
what it
mean,
is with
I
new
made a
stuff.
joke earlier that we basically are paying entry fees to be beta testers for these consoles. Like,
Yeah.
Pretty much.
it are very expensive entry fees. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
I think for the price, I should not be getting any actual issues like what we're seeing. But again, it's not across the board. It's not like this is a major, was it the red ring of death that the
Oh
PlayStation? No, it
man.
was the place. It was Xbox
Xbox, yeah.
Mhm.
was
RIP,
having.
man.
Yeah, like so, it's not like it's that type of situation, but at the same time, you think that these companies would learn from their previous mistakes to try to make sure they can get the most, testing out the way, just to look for these issues before it becomes a huge issue for the consumer.
Right.
Definitely.
Well, that leads me to my just to play devil's advocate real quick, and just for fun. Uh, now, do you believe? Because we kind of talked about this outside of the show, but do you still kind of hang on to the fact that there really should be no exceptions and for that, even though given the year that we've been in, with all the changes that needed to be made, the remote working from home, and maybe I guess being in the area where they can manufacture these things as much. Do you think there's any kind of room for understanding on that, or you still feel like no, that should still be unacceptable?
Yeah, I think so because nothing's perfect.
Mhm.
I mean, you can buy, you could buy a PS4 Pro or an Xbox One X.
Right.
The before the new systems, those were the latest things that come out, and you could still just so happen to buy one that has some kind of crazy issue with it. So, I mean,
Right.
unfortunately, that's just, nothing's perfect, and so, you hope that these companies have done a lot of QA, and so they've minimized, the
Hmm.
defects and the possibilities
Mhm.
for defects. But unfortunately, there's gonna be something, but it will be interesting to see, um, how both companies address these defects. If they have stuff in place for you to, get a new one or get it fixed or whatnot. That's what I want to see.
Yeah.
Star, what you think, Star?
I mean, I just feel like even with the coil issue or whatever that sound is not going to cause any true damage to the consoles. So
Mhm.
if this is going to be a known sound, we just gonna have to just get used to it, just same way we got used to when the fan turns on and sounds like a jet engine taking off on the PlayStation 4. I mean, we're
Oh
just gonna have to get
man.
used to it. But I
Right.
would like for them not to have been pushing, that false narrative that these consoles gonna be extremely quiet because it
Mhm.
looks like it's not. So, but
Mhm.
again, it's not a damaging issue because hopefully it's not a electronic issue or electrical issue. It's just
Mhm.
a normal GPU thing.
Mhm.
But I just want for them to learn from their past mistakes. And if they're, because again, when it comes to any electronic, there's so many variables that can always go wrong, and they have their ways of quality control. But how much testing are they really doing to be able, or how much window of time are they giving the testers to be able to find all these issues out before it gets to the consumer? Is
Right.
it based on their sole concern on making sure we get the best product, or their sole concern is we just want this to be a 3-month window of testing because we want this console out by the holidays? That like they just really more concerned about the timetable of how to make the most money
Mhm.
versus the timetable of really trying to pinpoint these issues before it gets out to the public.
Yeah.
It's a good
Corporation
question.
101, man.
What
Yeah.
you think, Star or BP?
Um, it's a tough thing. I guess just it's really hard because we don't really know the particulars of what got hindered. I mean, I know they kind of came out a little bit and talked about like obviously having people work remotely from home, and there
Mhm.
was always questions and concerns brought up to some of the heads saying what does this mean for manufacturing? Does it slow anything down? Does it mean that you delay it till next year? And they've always kind of gave that strong stance of no, we're still on track and everything. And then
Mhm.
so I mean, it's hard, like, because I want, given what we've gone through this year, I want to give the benefit of the doubt and just say, hey, the system's launch in um, a little less than what the expectations were of the performance. Then, I want to kind of give a little leeway for it, but you are talking about money spent on these things, and it's not cheap. So it's not
Yeah.
to mention that it's hard now to even get another system, and you know what I mean. So
Yeah,
it's a tough one, man. It's hard for me to sway either way.
got
Um,
you.
so I'm kind of just stuck with that. I guess you have
Yeah.
to just take all things in consideration, really, and just you know
Yeah, the
just go
only
with it.
issue, not to cut you off, but the
No, go
only
for it,
issue
man.
that concerns me is with both these consoles is the fact that I think with certain types of games you're playing, it can cause the actual console to just freeze up. And then by freezing up, the only way you can kind of fix it is by doing a hard reboot to the actual console. When it comes back up again, it wants to basically reformat its hard drive, or it wants to try to self repair. Like
Yeah.
that's not a good sign to see
No.
that these current gen
Mhm.
consoles. Like you just don't want to have to be troubleshooting your $500 console within the first 2 weeks.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Yeah, because I know there's cases that's been like that. So yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, so we'll definitely have to see how many more issues get reported and what these companies decide to do with it.
Sure.
So
Patch
moving on.
updates.
There you go. So moving on to the actual launch lineup. I guess it might be quicker to talk about Xbox because I don't think they had anything exclusive
They didn't.
to their to Xbox. um, which it definitely kind of sucks that we didn't get Halo Infinite. And we're gonna kind of talk about that a little bit later as well after this topic. Um, but I, and again, it's kind of what I've been saying. Xbox is just pushing more. At least right now, they're pushing more for you just to get on their system and experience Game Pass and
Game
Project
Pass.
X Cloud. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think you know, in maybe 1 to 3 years, once Xbox Game Studios when they bought all those studios a couple years ago, once these games start coming out along with now the Bethesda acquisition and those games start coming out, I think
Mhm.
then we're really going to see those big first party titles on Xbox. But as far as their launch lineup, it was pretty non-existent. But the good thing was all previous Xbox, the original Xbox, Xbox 360, and Xbox One games were available day one on Series X and S.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I guess that's kind of a cool thing to be able to play your old gen games on your new gen console day one.
Yeah.
That's worth buying a console.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just being very facetious. I don't believe that if I'm excited for a new gen console with the new beefed up graphics, that I'm looking forward to playing my old games. I don't mind that that option's available. I'm glad
Mhm.
that Microsoft tried to be the one that would always support their games for every console, but
Mhm.
that's not ever been my reason for buying the next gen console.
So
So
not a system seller for you, very
no,
much.
it's not a system seller for me.
Yeah.
But they do stand out. They do stand out because, PlayStation's been waffling behind
Mhm.
how many of their older games are they gonna support. So just that they can come out the gate and say, "Hey, we could support almost nearly 100%," that gives them that type of, street cred, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, and honestly, just to add to it, I think that's gonna carry them. I think they knew just going forward that, yeah, they're gonna they're gonna go through a little bit of a rough patch with that whole launch title thing, because obviously Sony's gonna have the edge,
Well,
with their strong titles. But I think overall, I mean, in the long run, I think Xbox is banking on, just basically getting the Game Pass thing going, and then when they do get their first party titles going and stuff, they're gonna draw more attention in.
is it a rough patch if they sold out of the systems?
You know what I mean? For their launch titles,
Uh,
you know?
yeah,
Because I mean,
but
that's one thing that people are gonna like, some people will point out that, yeah, I mean, you obviously your systems are selling, well, obviously, but, what's dominating the conversations, currently, like what system?
Yeah, that's a problem that I'm having with Xbox because we were just discussing how these console companies should learn from their previous, history from their older
Mhm,
consoles.
mhm,
Microsoft should have already been coming out of the gate with their first party titles. They
mhm,
shouldn't just have been relying on Halo. I mean, they don't need a mascot. They just needed games.
mhm.
And that's just crazy that they purchased, was it Bethesda? They purchased for like about was it $7 billion
five or
dollars?
6 billion.
I mean, that's just it's crazy that they just now made this purchase instead of just already having that purchase done years ago and had these game companies or these developers making these games prior to this new console being released. It's like
Well,
Mhm,
I don't know who is planning these things out, but the game should come first and then the console. Because the
mhm,
console can always be critiqued and changed up, but the game still needs to be made.
mhm,
But
well, but that's
Mhm.
that's what they've been doing. And it was happening a lot a couple years ago. And I agree with you. Yeah, it sucks to see nothing at launch, but they have been the past several years, and why I've been kind of really getting it hyped for this, this generation we're entering in now is because they have been on a buying spree and buying a lot of companies, and um, it's taking time, and I'm hoping they're using this time to really get these games to be right. Because if they can give us PlayStation quality games, I think they're going to be in a good spot. So, but
Mhm.
it's definitely taking them some time. And you talk about Bethesda, yeah, they are slow when it comes to make games,
Yeah.
which
And they
they
need to
make,
be. They are making some
yeah.
big games. They should take their time.
Right.
But what's interesting to me, you guys,
What's that?
What's that?
and I mean, sure, we can argue back and forth about how many they actually had available, but just let's on surface value, Xbox sold out of their Series X and S with no launch title exclusives.
Yeah,
That's pretty
because
crazy.
here's the thing though. Psychologically, people are always going to buy or support their team. Like that's just how it goes. Like
Mhm.
even if Xbox didn't offer any games, let's say they didn't offer not even one minute anything but the console. That's a team, and these Xbox, fans gonna want it because they want to see their team win, and that's always been the thing. With me, I don't really have a team other than
Mhm.
Nintendo, but I
Nice.
I,
Couldn't
I
tell that.
purchased I purchased the console because I think that the game's gonna be fun. That's
Mhm.
crazy. I just went out and spent $500 on a console with no games yet. That's ridiculous to me. But
Well,
it's someone's team, so they was
mhm.
gonna go out there and support their team.
Yeah, I mean, I don't doubt that, but I still kind of feel like, I mean, even though you said, you obviously wouldn't look forward to just getting the console to enjoy the old games, I still do feel like there's a good set amount of people who do, though, want to look forward to that type of thing. So, you do
Yeah.
have your Xbox heads who want to experience their older games on that new system to see how smooth it flows, and especially with from the Xbox One to the Series X, they want to see
Oh
that.
yeah. Oh
Just like I had actually a friend of ours, me and you, Star Child, we had a friend that basically had a Ghost of Tsushima, that he had on the PS4, and then he has a PS5 now, and he's experiencing on that. And I can tell you from the video he sent, that looks like a whole different game. That looks,
Oh,
I mean,
it looks amazing,
it's a
but
mind blowing experience. So I feel like there are,
I would say, but that's PlayStation though. PlayStation not only has that option, they actually have
mhm.
games.
Well, yeah, but I guess the point I'm making is, Ghost of Tsushima is a thing that people, obviously is a great game that people enjoy, and I'm pretty sure that there are, Xbox fans who have games like that, that they can enjoy from, the Xbox One's era. So they want to see that jump to where some of the games can be pushed to 60 frames per second or something like that, you know. So
I,
just kind
I,
of,
I guess. I mean, I
yeah.
agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not saying that for everybody. I'm just saying that there are people who are willing to say, you know what, I want to buy that system because I know eventually they're gonna bring out some heavy hitters, but for now I want to enjoy what I had and what I've loved before be updated to a whole new experience.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I just find it so interesting. You sold out with no first party exclusive launch titles. That's just ridiculous, man. But
Hmm.
um moving to Sony, as you guys kept bringing up, they actually had a launch lineup, and I'm gonna be honest, it's one of the best we've seen. Definitely, I would say better than a PS4, if nothing else. um, you obviously got your Spider-Man Miles Morales, even though that is PS4 as well. You got
Hmm.
Demon Souls, the remake. Um,
Yep.
which those two alone are pretty big games. You got Godfall, which isn't really because I know some PC or it's coming to PC as well, but you got that,
Hmm.
which we'll have to kind of see how that turns out. Um, I'm here. I heard what was it Astro's Playroom, the game that comes with the system.
Hmm.
I heard that helps show off the new capabilities of the DualSense 5, and it's interesting that we're getting a pack-in game because that kind of started to fade away. So they got a pretty good lineup, even though they're charging you more for that new lineup.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, Yeah, like and when you mentioned that what was it,
Astro's Playroom.
Astro's Playroom?
It's
Yeah, like
the
I've
the
heard.
little toy robots that used to be
Yeah,
within it used to be the camera, for the PlayStation 4 allows you to use those little robots. Not sure how it's playing how it plays on the PlayStation 5. I guess it's not needing the camera anymore.
Yeah,
uh,
I think it's just like a platformer type game now.
They changed
yeah,
it up, okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, pretty
So
much.
no
Like,
longer a tech demo, it's something else now. Okay.
Well,
well, it's
it's
probably
a
a
tech
tech
demo
demo
for
more
the
for the.
controller.
You're right, yeah, for the DualSense.
Okay.
Because I heard it basically just shows you all the capabilities, all what's that controllers are really capable of. Because I think a lot of the developers probably haven't reached that mark yet where they can fully take advantage of the
Okay.
features. So
Yeah.
that game was just there for to say, hey, look, it really can do some amazing things, and you really feel the difference on, whatever it is you're playing, like sand, for example, if you're playing on that type of turf or something. It just you could feel the differences.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's probably one
But
thing I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty excited to check out.
yeah, so I mean they definitely have a good launch lineup. So it's kind of one of the reasons why I was devastated when I didn't get my PS5 because I want to play Miles Morales on PS5. I kind of want to go back and play Demon Souls on PS5. So they actually have some pretty big hitters coming out the gate, and we already
Hmm.
know there's several more coming out pretty soon. Um,
Yeah.
it's definitely a good
I
lineup.
still want the numbers though, man, because I don't know
I
how
do.
many actual human beings purchase that console versus the bots. Like, just I want these numbers.
Yeah.
I wanna close this case.
And I guess to kind of piggyback off this, the final topic we kind of had and wanted to bring up today was the fact of these now current gen games kind of being limited by having to be done on both the last generation, by that I mean the PS4 and Xbox One, and now the current generation, the PS5 and Xbox Series X. The kind of examples I wanted to point out to you guys are obviously Halo Infinite. That announcement was so terrible they ended up delaying the game.
Mhm.
Um, but also Miles Morales. I'm sure there had to be some cuts. I can't remember if there was a specific thing I heard or not, but that. But then I know I did hear with Horizon Forbidden West, the new Horizon game, that uh, that game was going to have originally going to have flying in it, but the developers had to cut that out because they had to have it run on the PlayStation 4 as well. And
Mhm.
Right.
so I kind of want to get you guys' opinion on what do you think should these publishers try to do a little bit of both, especially early on in a new console's life, or do they just go cold turkey and say, you want this, you got to get the new system?
Nah, it is so smart to basically put that game on an already established, console
Hmm.
because you already have how many million consoles of PlayStation 4s out there.
Mhm.
You make this game, you're gonna have that many people automatically there to buy it. The new gen consoles, I mean, you're gonna have a very small, established base of people. Like you said, the true fans of the consoles, they'll be the first ones to buy it. That's not
Mhm.
enough to justify the cost of making that game. So if they're smart, they will continue making games for the older gen until they get a bigger and enough subscriber base on the current gen, the new gens, to be able to start making those exclusives again.
Right.
Okay. VP.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good question, honestly. Because it just is interesting because they did come out the back, in the very beginning that yeah, no, if you want you know, really enjoy the next gen experience, you're gonna have to, settle for getting the games strictly for those next gen, for the next gen.
Oh,
Speaking of PlayStation, of course.
So yeah, Sony did, yeah.
So yeah, because I mean, I kind of was on board with that. I mean, at the same time, I get it because you don't because the idea of having to just be like, all right, well, great, I got to go get another system just to experience it. It's just not easy. It's not an easy pill to swallow, especially if you're trying to budget and everything. But
Yeah.
you do want to see where they go with the new tech and how big it can be and all that. And so, with that being said, if you're like, hey, well, we've decided now they're at a point where they're saying, hey, no, we're gonna do it cross gen, we're gonna do it for the PS4. It
Hmm.
brings the question of limitations. And now,
Yeah.
like you said, you made that point about what they cut out, and um, from the New Horizon game. So it's a really tough call on that. I'll probably, given the fact, and this definitely doesn't sound like me, I can tell you that, because I actually would have loved to do the whole cross gen thing from the get go. So I kind of was bummed out when he first made the announcement, but now I'm at a point now when they talk so highly of the PS5 that I'm just really eager to find out where they can take it, where the boundaries can be set in newer games. So I kind of really was kind of hoping that they would have stuck with that, announcement, and just sticking with the PS5 getting new games.
Yeah.
Um, but what makes me curious is I just wonder if they made that change, not only in lieu of Xbox, obviously making it to where, no matter what system you have, or basically Xbox One or whatever, you can experience those new games.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering if maybe it kind of came down to, like Star Child was saying, with the availability of the newer consoles, and obviously not a lot of people were going to have it, so you couldn't really get a lot of those games to sell. So I'm wondering if maybe
Yeah.
they did kind of say, we probably don't have a choice but to kind of go that route. So
It's definitely a good question.
yeah.
Uh, but uh, me personally, I say just make it next gen. Because
Hmm.
like you just said, BP, the limitations and what gets, what has to be cut and everything. And I rather, especially as we enter in, new generations every couple of years, I want to see what these what these companies can do and what these new systems can do. And so
Hmm.
I'd rather just get, Halo Infinite, Miles Morales, um, Horizon Forbidden West. I'd rather these just be, next gen, now current gen exclusives.
Right.
It does limit the player base, and yeah, they are losing those sales for the, all the people who own the previous generations. That it definitely sucks, but I don't want the game to be limited. You know what I mean? We're
Hmm.
in next gen. Give me next gen stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
um, so I guess maybe it's smart for them to kind of maybe throw out the small hitters first. You got your Miles
Hmm.
Morales, which is more of a expansion type deal, and
Hmm.
Horizon Forbidden West. Don't get me wrong, Horizon was a great game, but
Oh yeah.
it's not one of their like best games.
Right.
As we're seeing it with the new God of War that's supposed to be coming out. So I'm curious to see, is that a true next gen, or is that going to be PS4 as well?
And it makes you wonder, because when you said all that, I was thinking, even when Xbox, because what did they say? They made like a kind of a commitment of saying what the next
Yeah, next like year
three,
or two.
yeah, that they were gonna just do, every, like games for every, like all the systems, but I guess
Yeah,
eventually move on to the next, uh,
yeah.
just strictly the, well, current gen now that we refer
I
to
know
now.
it's so
I know
weird.
it's hard. I keep wanting to say next gen. But it just makes me wonder is if they had enough just foresight to just know that, like, for one, you're not going to obviously get the full capabilities of the consoles with these launch titles. And even
Yeah,
in the first year, it's going to take time to really understand, for developers to really get accustomed and understand what all they can do and just learn all the tricks of, developing their software. And, because so it makes me wonder, do they just know that going forward and just think that it was a smart idea to just make, obviously the first year or so, like you said, strictly have games where they're all on all systems, because
mhm,
obviously there's just not going to be, they're not going to reach the capacity anyway, so just might as well do it for everything. And
yeah.
then eventually get to the point where, oh, okay, the developers are more comfortable now, they know they know the tech in and out, the hardware in and out, so now they can bring us these just mind-blowing experiences. So I'm just wondering if maybe that's one of the things that come into play as well.
It's
I
definitely
think it
interesting.
all comes down to money.
I mean, of course,
Definitely
yeah.
does.
That's all gonna come down
Everything
to
comes
money.
down to money.
Yes,
You
yes,
know?
indeed. No lie.
So, so before we end it off tonight, I wanted to ask you guys one final question.
Mhm.
What is right now the next game you're looking forward to for this new generation?
Mm. So,
That's been announced anyway that we know of.
yeah, in any title, right? Like third party first.
Yeah,
Okay.
any title.
So, uh, I mean, it's probably not gonna be no surprise with Resident Evil.
Of course, of course.
Yeah. I'm super excited. But to be fair, like I said, I'm always. I mean, to be honest, I should say, I'm always looking forward to a new Resident Evil game, just the potential and what it could do, what it can bring.
Excellent.
But just even more on these next gens, then I think apparently, and I might be wrong, but I think that they said they were going to also take advantage of the DualSense controller.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but I think that there was an announcement for that. But so I'm really excited
better.
about that. What's that?
I said they better. I mean, that would be the only smart move to make. That
Well,
controller is what's selling this console. I mean, in the games, but that
mhm.
controller, I'm hearing so many great things. They have to apply that technology. They have to.
Yeah, find a way to do it right. Yeah, so that makes me excited, just to see where that goes.
Why you Star?
Well, the Switch is technically a next gen console for Nintendo's line. So I'm looking forward to No More Heroes, and I'm looking forward to Metro Prime 4. So I'm
All
looking
right.
forward
Nice.
to some, actual Nintendo games. On the Sony side of things,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
there's nothing at the moment that is gonna make me so excited as the way I feel now, waiting to see what No More Heroes will look like. So
Got
I
you.
got nothing right now. So
Sorry,
Got
Sony.
you.
He's just not feeling y'all right now.
And I guess my next gen game is the next gen version of Cyberpunk 2077 we're getting next year.
Oh
okay.
yeah. So that's next year. Okay.
No, no, I'm just playing. I'm just playing. I am excited for that. But because it is a new game.
Mm-hmm.
That definitely is up there. I do plan on replaying the game when that version comes out. Whenever
Mm-hmm.
it comes out, so it is sometime next year. The next gen upgrade. Um,
Okay.
but as far as just brand new game
Mm-hmm.
coming from this new generation of consoles, I think right now God of War.
Yeah.
Depending on what it is.
Right. Yeah. We
If
still
it's
have to.
God of War, if it's God
Mm-hmm.
of War 2,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. But
Mm-hmm.
if it's God of War Miles Morales, you know what I mean? Then I'm still excited, but not as excited as a God of War 2.
Not as much as the true sequel is what you're saying.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Is it
That
going
makes
to be a
sense.
sequel, or they just going to do something totally different?
We're not sure yet.
We don't know. We just
Yeah, they
know.
just released like a teaser, basically saying, "Hey, it's coming." It's like, "Hey, but
Yeah,
what exactly?"
yeah,
Exactly.
I don't know about that.
And I think honestly, because it never even said God of War 2, it said what God of War Ragnarok.
Ragnarok is coming, I think.
Yeah, so it kind of leaves it up in the air, man, because you don't know sequel maybe, or like
Exactly.
kid said, it could just be a like Miles Morales type expansion. We don't know.
I said
Exactly.
the history of Ragnarok is that mainly that's how, what is it, Valhalla or whatever the Greek gods live, that's how it always get destroyed. So that name could mean that they're destroying the entire premise of God of War and they're starting over with something new.
Well, don't want to get into spoilers if you haven't played God of War, but
Oh, okay.
they definitely hit towards some big stuff at the end of the game, but I don't want to
Okay.
say
Mhm.
too much.
Okay.
Don't want to say too much.
I
So
mean, is it really too much at this time though? Because I mean, it's been out for a minute, right?
I haven't played it yet,
it
so
has. It has.
Got you.
I'm saying that I will go on YouTube and probably watch the whole movie. So it's up to you if you want to tell me.
Nice.
Nah, that's fine.
But we'll see. But
Yeah.
anyway, I appreciate y'all for taking some time out y'all day to listen to us ramble for a little bit about the next generation or this new generation of systems that we now have upon us.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah.
as always, BP, you want to tell them where to go?
Oh yeah, as usual. You can go to our email address, which is gmrcredits@gmail.com. And again, just leave any feedback you have. I'm hoping to get that updated. I'm trying to branch out into some other social accounts to set up. So I'll keep y'all posted whenever that gets finished and finalized.
Cool,
And we
cool,
still have
cool.
YouTube as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, everybody, say goodbye.
All
All
right.
right.
Well, peace
Peace out.
out.
Let's let's get it.